Great. Welcome everyone to our Lensational celebration, our 8th anniversary of elevating voices of women and girls across the world. I'm Bonnie Chiu. I'm the founder and CEO of Lensational. So very happy to be hosting the event today and so glad to have many of you join from across the world. I know some of you have woken up quite early in the US to join us, and also of course our friends in parts of Asia where it's the evening for you already. I'll just give you an overview of what program that you can be expecting today. I'll start off just to give an overview of our Lensational journey. It's of course, a momentous day for us as our birthday is today, but it's also the International Women's Day, as many of you know. We'll also then have a panel discussion with our photographers. We're very excited that 3 of our photographers from Hong Kong, from Ghana, and from Kenya will be joining us today. We'll also be sharing with you the stories from our photography competition earlier earlier last year with COVID-19 that we launched. So we'll be sharing some of those stories as well. I'll then do a small piece of spoken word poetry, and we have some really exciting announcements that you'll be the first ones in the world to know about. So with that, I will start off with just a bit of overview of where we have been so far. And some of you might have seen this picture before, but I have this picture from Turkey back in 2012 when I was traveling in Turkey and I met 4 Turkish girls, and the encounter with them really made me realize the universal power of photography. I feel, of course, during COVID times, it's quite hard for us to have these in-person encounters, but I do believe that photography more than ever now, given the digital age that we live in and that we are all remote, actually photography continues to have a lot of power for us to share with each other our memories and our emotions, and for us to get to know each other better. This year's International Women's Day, the theme is Choose to Challenge. We've also included that hashtag on our first slide. And I think Choose to Challenge as a hashtag really, really resonates with all of us at Lensational. I've just picked some of our amazing photographs. On the top left, you will see a picture from our program in Kenya that was back in 2018 in partnership with the Standard Chartered Bank. And it was very much focused on the power of girls in sports, and in this case, in particular, football. On the top right, that's a photograph from our partnership with Girls Got to Run in Ethiopia, an area in Ethiopia where they are they're training the next generation of the best runners in Ethiopia. And then on the bottom right, a photograph of an Indonesian student of ours and her Kung Fu or amazing pose on the top of a mountain in Hong Kong. To bottom left, Nargis from our Bangladesh program in Cox's Bazar, her on a skateboard. I think these are just some of the images to show you the bravery and the courage and the power of imagination that photography can really bring to women and girls across the world. And more than ever today, let's really choose to challenge those gender stereotypes. Just scrolling through some of the images, I wanted also to include this image because it just shows you the breadth of countries and the breadth of cultures that Lensational has really been able to unearth from our students. To date, we've worked in over 23 countries in Asia and Africa. And when I was looking through our photography, our portfolio, I came across this program with our partner in Bhutan, Anna Baikama, and this photograph is just about sisterhood and is about siblings and the power of those relationships. So I just thought these are just some of the images that kind of encapsulate at the heart of Lensational is always about building relationships and sharing those stories. Of course, what also excites us is when we are able to generate actual income for the women we work with. This is from Alison Joyce and our photographer that we partner with in Bangladesh, in Cox's Bazar. And I think we were able to sell that photograph, actually I showed you earlier, of the skateboard. And we were able then to actually, because 50% of our of any photograph sold, the revenue goes back directly to the women. We were able to actually, have cash in their hands, and that was a really fantastic moment back in 2016. The power of photography is also when you show these images. It's not just the act of taking that particular photograph, but being able to showcase it. And this is a photo I remember from India when we did an exhibition in the Chennai Photo Biennale. We had all these photographs plastered up on the walls of a metro station in India. And Sweta Shri, she was only 11 years old then, but she saw all her artwork plastered up on these walls, and exhibitions really bring that lift to confidence, but it also brings people together. Some of you may know that this woman I'm showing is actually my grandmother, and she came to an exhibition we hosted featuring 3 Indonesian domestic workers we trained in Hong Kong. This lady here, her name is Anik, and she just hugged my grandmother because she was so emotional being able to show her photographs. You see on the right hand side is her photographs of how she has conquered so many different mountains in Hong Kong. So, I hope today is also a chance for us to bring all of us together through this medium of photography. Some of the other highlights, we broadened from photography to also film. So this is a really big highlight when we actually did a documentary film. The girls actually directed and created the film, and that film then went on to win a prize at the UN, represented by our colleague Lucille, who you'll hear from later today. And also I know we'll hear from our program in Ghana, but another very proud moment is when Miss Per is able to share her story at the UN Africa Climate Week. I think that was 2 years ago. So the moment really culminates in our photo book that we did 18 months ago called Our Shared Forest. Moving forward, we'll continue to have a very strong focus at the intersection of gender and climate. And we'll share more with you later, but I'll now pass it on to my colleague Lydia, who is currently our Global Programs Director, to moderate now a really exciting discussion with our photographers. So over to you, Lydia.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm really grateful, and I'm really excited to be able to be speaking to some of the amazing photographers that we have who are representing the 3 countries that we are currently working in. And I'm going to first introduce them before we get into a really fun discussion. So the first photographer we have with us today is Phoebe. Phoebe is from Ghana. And Phoebe was learning how to code when she learned about Lensational in 2018. And she joined our training program through a partnership with Samsung in Ho Accra. And since joining, Phoebe has contributed her work to Lensational's Our Shared Forest photo book, which many of you may have had the privilege to see. She's also shared her work in BBC News Africa and Azikia Foundation, a really amazing partnership that we have with a foundation based in France. Phoebe has now gone up to training new girls and women that we have in Ghana. And so she's no longer just a student, she's now a mentor and a trainer. Her focus in her own projects are based in her neighborhood in Nima. For Phoebe, the journey has not been easy. She's received a lot of criticism, but she has not given up on her dream to become a renowned documentary photographer. So next we have Leanne. Leanne is a street photographer and migrant domestic worker living in Hong Kong. Originally from Pagasinan, Philippines, she holds a Bachelor in Science in Biology, and she worked as a teacher before migrating to Hong Kong. I think there's someone speaking. Please mute your microphone. Thank you. So since joining Lensational, Leanne's work has been featured in many exhibitions in Hong Kong and abroad. Photography facilitates connections in Leanne's life, connections with others who share her passion, connections to the city, connection with the people of Hong Kong. Through her art, she hopes to inspire other migrant women, especially to pursue their dreams. Welcome, Leanne. Next, we have Mercy, who is maybe our youngest photographer in the program. She is from Kenya. She's a financial economics student at Masai Mara University, and she lives in Gataka, which is in Kajiado County in Kenya. She joined photography classes in Gataka after the outbreak of COVID-19, which led to closure of schools. Her work so far has focused on documenting the plight of people living with disabilities and who suffer the stigmatization from many in the community. Through photography, she has helped families of people with disabilities open up about the issue, and many others in the community think differently. Mercy feels grateful that she is able to tell stories as a woman and hopes that other women will join in too. Welcome, Mercy. So, so without further ado, Phoebe, can you hear me, Phoebe?
Yes, please.
Awesome. So I think my first question will go to Phoebe. There you are. Hi, Phoebe.
Hi, good, yeah.
So, you know, hi. You know, since you joined Lensational, you know, you came in, I don't think you had any background in photography, and you started training, and now you have taken up the role of mentoring and training others in the program, especially in Ghana. Could you briefly share your journey? What are some of the challenges that you had to overcome, and what are some of the highlights that have come from this journey?
Okay, thank you. So I started the photography I heard it from Kafui, who is the leader of women techmakers in Accra, Ghana, and a friend of Lensational. So she told me about Lensational, and then I said, okay, I would like to join and have experience of how photography is. But then I was coding, and then Kafui Yavu was my mentor. She was mentoring me during the coding learning. So I joined Lensational in 2018, and then we had our first workshop at school. And then the first workshop was with Lensational in partnership with Samsung. So we had a 3 days workshop. It was very, very fun, educated, and amazing. So from the 3 days workshop, we came back to Accra, and then we had several workshops with Francisco Coco in Accra. So after the several workshops, I gained more interest, and then started shooting, went for reviews from Francisco Coco, and also go to Francis anytime I'm in any difficulties in photography. And Francis will always welcome me. Right? He's always there for us. anytime we are in need. So we learned more, and then I started posting, shooting, and then posting on my Instagram page. So my photography, everything began on Instagram. My pictures are there. So I started posting and then go for reviews from Francis. And then sometimes I also go to Julian when I'm in need of something. So I sometimes go to Julian. So through photography, I was able to learn more. I had a great experience with photography. And then I was able to work for people. Some of my works were featured in BBC Africa. I was part. I contributed to our Shared Forest book a lot. Then the journey wasn't easy. The journey wasn't easy, but a lot of people criticize you as a woman in photography, and then you have to keep on going because you know what you want, so you have to keep on going. A lot of people said bad things. How can a woman be a photographer? How can a woman do photography? There are a lot of work out there, so how can a woman be a photographer? But because of the love I have for photography, none of the negative talks affected me. I kept on moving. I kept on going for reviews. I kept on learning more about photography, and then for now, I can boldly say I'm doing amazing photography, and then in future maybe I'll be a great person, a woman photographer, and then I'll be able to shoot more for my photos, to get to places, to reach out Ghana, and then I'll be able to also mentor a lot of ladies. Talking about mentorship, the first one I did was with alumni at Ada. So we went to Mispa and I went to Ada to go and mentor or to teach the ladies there. I was very happy because I gained something. I gained a talent or a work from Lensational, and I'm able to share it with my fellow guests. When on my way going, when I was told about it, I was like, it's cool, it's good. I was very, very happy because sharing with people what you have, and then not any people, but with girls, it was fun. And then the ladies were also comfortable with us. They learned a lot from us. And then we all cope together. We have a great day with the ladies. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phoebe. And I'm sure you guys have had many names. So Mispa is also from our program in Ghana. And Julian is our program manager in Ghana. And Francis has been our photographer mentor in Ghana. So we're really grateful to have them also join us today. And I think what Phoebe has said allows me to engage Mercy. I think you mentioned, Phoebe, you mentioned something about the negativity around women photographers. And I would love to hear from Mercy, what her experience has been. Mercy, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
You've been working on a really amazing project that has to do with plight of children and their caregivers, plight of children living with disabilities and their caregivers. First and foremost, what inspired you to talk about this? Did it stem from a personal connection? And what are some of the challenges that you've experienced in collecting these stories?
I've been working on children with disabilities in our community, and what inspired me was my brother. My brother was born with cerebral palsy, and for us, we took it as a positive thing in our family. We never hid him from the community. We never neglected him, but we took care of him as one of the members of our family. We'll go with him everywhere. We'll show him to everybody in the community, or anywhere we go, we'll go with him. So many people in the community were so into it that they wanted to know how comes that you can't hide this person and he's having a disability. But we didn't take it as a negative thing because he's one of us, he's our blood, we love him. And also, the community since then has seen people with disabilities at a different angle, especially through photography. Lensational has really helped. Through photography, people are willing and able to open up about their families and their members of their families who have disabilities among them. So they speak up. They would like you to take a story about them, and through it, so many other people have started opening up. They said, like, also me, I have a child, I have this relative, he or she is having this kind of disability, and I would like you to take his or her story. And it has really helped the community. There have people with disabilities have started being accepted, have started to be accepted in the community, and also they have been showed love, and they have been protected by the community since they see them as important persons in the community.
All right. Thank you, Mercy. And what has been the greatest lesson for you? Being the one holding the camera. I think what has been the greatest lesson as you've been collecting these stories?
I've also learned that there are many other people with disabilities, and the challenges are many that they go through. But through their acceptance and accommodation into the community, they are good people, they are productive people, and they are very cheerful people, if only we give them space. And also they have a hidden talent and ability inside them. The people with disabilities can do something that a normal person cannot do. I've really learned a lot, and also I've learned that you really need to be patient with them, show them love, give them space and accommodate them, and take care of them as you would want to be taken care of. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mercy. I think someone, and this allows me to now bring in Leanne, because you've really inspired me with some of the stories that you've shared, and they do ideally, what we aim to do with our work, which is break negative stereotypes to underrepresented communities. So you shared a really amazing story on your life of a migrant worker. And I would love for you to talk about that experience and how you reflected it through images and how you spoke about it. Welcome, Leanne.
Yeah, so before I came here in Hong Kong, I was a professional back home. So I was a teacher. And like just a snap, I become a domestic helper. So it's like my life turned 180 degrees. And what I realized is that here in Hong Kong, if you are a domestic worker, you are at the bottom of the society. And it really affected me. And instead of like giving up, I did my best to look for a diversion. And since I was into photography before, like I realized that photography is a good way for me to divert those negative feelings. Because here in Hong Kong, you're also a domestic worker. Like you don't have enough freedom. So we cannot really say what we want to say. We cannot really like express our thoughts. So what I did is I used the photos to share my stories, and instead of using myself as the subject, because I want to find my connection to the city. And I realized the best way to do that is why not take the photos of the locals? Because I want to find the similarities between me as a migrant and them as locals. And I think it would be also easier for the locals here to understand my message if the locals are my subjects.
Awesome. Do you have any, maybe like 2 or 3 images from that essay that you could share with us?
Okay, let me just share my screen. Again, how many problems again? I cannot share my screen. Hello?
Lydia, you need to unmute.
Sorry. I think, Leon, we're gonna try and resolve that. But in the meantime, if there are any questions from the audience, would be happy to hear them from you guys. I think the last question that I have for all the ladies is, we as Lensational, we always consider women as the real experts because you're the ones who tell the stories and you're the ones who own the stories. And we simply, facilitate the best, maybe a safe medium for you to share that. How can we as Lensational improve in ensuring that we facilitate the best conditions for you to share your stories? And how do we ensure that we continue representing you as you would love to be represented and not as we deem right? I think you can start, Leon.
I think Lensational is really providing us a very good platform to showcase not only our works, but especially the stories that we want to share. And for me personally, I'm very thankful with Lensational because it's been my stepping stone, like for 5 years, 6 years already. And like they also gave me the chance to lead the program back in the Philippines. And just want to share some good news because I was one of the fellows of an organization here in Hong Kong, and I tried applying for a grant. And like during the application, I decided that I will be conducting a workshop, but instead of just doing it by myself, I want to represent Lensational because it's my way of giving back to you guys, and I also want to share the opportunity to the other migrant workers here in Hong Kong.
Thank you so much, Leon. Phoebe, how can we improve in ensuring that we provide the best conditions for you guys to share your stories and ensure that we continue representing you correctly? I think you can say one thing and then Mercy, and we can wrap up.
Okay. So just want to say a big thank you to Lensational for giving us this platform. Without Lensational, we couldn't have been photographers by now. So for us to keep on representing Lensational, I think we should, to my knowledge, we have to keep on bringing, training up more ladies so that we all will be able to represent Lensational. And then Lensational represent us, we also represent Lensational. We'll work and then share our story to the world. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Phoebe. One word from you, Mercy.
I'm very grateful for Lensational, first of all, that you've enabled me as a woman to air the stories about my community and talk about the challenges that we face in our community. But when we go for photography, we find that those people you take stories from, they are the ones that give you stories, and they themselves, they know themselves amongst themselves, such that one parent who has a child with with special needs knows another parent who has special needs. So when you hear one story, they are able to tell the other parent, oh, so and so is taking a story about my child. Would you like that your story about your child can also be taken? So you find that these parents, they really trust you as a photographer, that you're taking stories about their children, but they also expect a feedback from you, and that is help, most of them, because you find that they tell you that I can provide food for my child, but the medication and education, it's too expensive for my child. But if you can find a way where my child can be helped in their medication and education, I'll be really grateful. So they expect you to come back and give them the feedback. So I was requesting if it would be good if we have like a needy kitty. I would call it that. That's that. After airing a story about a person with maybe that special need, it can be autism, it can be cerebral palsy, it can be any other condition, such that when we get that candy kitty or some donations from good from the donors, we can go back to the community. We can tell them that through your story, this person decided that he will help you with this and this and this. It will be very empowering, and they'll be having that good feeling in them, and they will also make other people or other parents who have children with cerebral palsy come to you. Now you'll find that stories are looking for you, and you're not going to look for the stories. Yeah, that's what I would like that we can improve on if it is possible. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mercy. Um, I think that you guys have had the message from the photographers who are representing the rest of the women in their countries. And now I'll finish there and pass it back to Bonnie.
Great. Thank you so much, Leanne, Phoebe, Mercy. That was so beautiful. Thank you again for joining us. And I hope all of you are also inspired by each other. Our next section is Lucille and Margarita, who will be showing us her COVID-19 stories. And I think some of our photographers' stories are also featured there as well. So Lucille, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'll share my screen. So let's see if it loads properly. And then I'll probably stop my video to make sure I don't lose you. So I think first a little bit of background into this. When the global pandemic broke out in March of last year, one of our immediate thoughts was to the network of women we support. And that's because we knew that women tend to be most affected by global pandemics. And we know that because women tend to be more affected by poverty globally, but also because they are overrepresented in the share of informal workers, of the world's informal workers, and therefore more likely to lose income. there is a very useful distinction, I think, which Dr. Claire Wenham of the London School of Economics made this year between people who are infected with COVID-19, where you don't necessarily see a gender dynamic there, he's not yet, and people who are affected by the COVID-19 crisis, where you really definitely see a gender dynamic. And these are some of the statistics that the UN's collected most recently. So I guess we knew we wanted to help our network of women photographers across the globe. We also knew that their stories were probably least likely to be told in this difficult time. And that's because their stories are already hard to reach in normal times. But with COVID-19, they would be even harder to reach by, let's say, mainstream media, and also harder to support on the ground. So we really wanted to do something about that. And what we did was we set up a competition. So we essentially posted on our platforms and encouraged women photographers from our network, but also from other communities that are underrepresented or communities that had been hard hit by the pandemic. We encouraged storytellers and specifically photographers to submit ideas on the broad theme of women in COVID-19. The idea with keeping the theme broad is that we didn't really want to impose any topic on our artists. We also knew that we would get stories on how pandemic had affected women, but we also wanted to hear about women's lives more generally and how some women were also, helping with the COVID response. And with this broad theme, that's exactly what we got. The competition was open to our network of photographers, of course, but also other women. And very importantly, we asked participants to send a project idea rather than a fully finished project. And that's because we felt it was probably more aligned with the mission of Lensational, which is that we want to develop artists also. And we wanted to make sure that less developed artists were also, participating. The other thing was that we wanted to support participants financially with a small stipend and also with a mentor to really be able to develop their project. And we were able to do so. So that was really, really fantastic. And while developing the project with them, we were also able to navigate safety concerns, which was another thing for us. So the women pictured here are the 11 winners of our Women in COVID-19 competition. We didn't really have a set number of winners, but we actually received many entries, and we were really glad to receive so many entries, and we were really, really excited to be able to support 11 projects across 5 countries, including Russia, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, and Spain. Each woman was assigned a mentor, and as I mentioned earlier, given a prize to help shoot her story. Now I'd let Margarita explain a bit more about the stories we developed.
Yeah, hi everybody. The 11 stories which came out of the competition were really incredible. And we are really excited to be publishing them in the coming weeks on our channels and also through media partners. But we wanted to share with you some snippets today of what the photographers have produced. We will not reveal everything, but just one picture each. So you will come and visit our channels to see the rest of the stories. Let's start with Phoebe, who talked like just a few minutes ago. Lucille, can we switch the slide? Yeah. So Phoebe describes in her series how the pandemic has affected women in her neighborhood of Nima, which is a Muslim populated area and a slum with a large population. Here's one of the Phoebe photographs of a nurse who have been infected by COVID-19. Then she tells the stories of our three women, and you will discover them very
Phoebe
soon.
is here, Margarita. So hi, Phoebe. Thank you for your story.
Yeah, we are so excited because we are excited to have all of you here on board finally, and to meet in person, quite in person. Then we have another really exciting and nice story, always from Ghana.
Doreen is also here today. So
yeah, hi Doreen.
If you wanna...
We hope that the pics we picked are fine with you. So Doreen told the story of Aunt Gladys, a cleaner working in offices in Ghana, who first lost her job during the lockdown. That happened a lot for a lot of people, and women in particular, and was not receiving even government support. When offices reopened, Gladys got to work again and became really important, instrumental in keeping people around her safe, because cleaning was one of the most important activities for not let the virus spreading. But she was not receiving any support like protective equipment to do so. So she got back her job, she's still struggling. Next is Whitney from Matar Slums in Nairobi. We still don't have the final editing of this project, but her work was really impressive. She worked on women who face hardship during lockdown in Matar Slums. Her project was one of the most challenging for many reasons. First of all, Whitney is really young and doesn't really own the means, a smartphone, a computer, which is something that is so just simple for us, but she doesn't really have those means to keep in touch with us, to work with us. So even the simple activity of working together was a challenge. But above all, she wasn't been working to tell stories of violence, abuse, and struggle of women survivors. So Whitney has been really brave. Engaging with women survivors is a huge challenge, especially with photography. So it has been really important, and supporting her, because the subject dealt with was very delicate. So we are waiting for the full project to be sent to us, to be shared with us. Next is Yaira. Yaira chose to use the creative approach of journaling to reflect on the impact of the pandemic on her family and herself, especially in the relationship with her children. Yaira's story tells of our times, because at the beginning it was really difficult to cope with all these things changing in our life, but then also good outcomes came from this situation, as she had the possibility to spend more time with her children, know her family better, and her relationship with the family improved with that, and also her priorities changed. So that's one picture of the amazing project of Yaira. The last one I'm going to present, and then is over to Lucille, is of Jam. Jam, all the way from Moscow, Russia. She is telling the story of Alma Arsila, a domestic worker migrated in Moscow, who has been organizing food distribution to help other domestic workers with food, because all of them, they lost their jobs during the first months of COVID, and they didn't have other alternative income. Globally, we know that 70% of domestic workers lost their job during the pandemic, and 80% of them, they were women. So that story is really, really important for us to tell. So Lucille, it's your time.
Yeah, I'm trying to switch to the next slide. There you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there were a few themes in the competition, that came through. I think, speaking to Jem's story, which Margarita just mentioned, there was definitely a theme of, women coming to the, I don't like the word frontline, but to the front, and to help their communities. And even though they had lost their income. And I think Ruth Simefa's story from Adafua is really speaking to this topic as well. She tells the story of Florence, who lost her income as an artist, but decided to paint educational art around her town's marketplace. Florence's art is visible on many walls as you enter, walk around, and leave the market. And it's a reminder that people should follow preventative measures in an area that has remained, crowded during the pandemic. We also had an incredible story from Samantha Argentino, who is a photographer originally from Argentina, who migrated to Spain and lives in rural Spain. In Samantha's town of Media del Prado, which is a rural community of Spain, Samantha has documented the difficult reality of women whose income has been very low. This is a region where income is very low already compared to the rest of Europe. She's followed 3 women, including the woman pictured here, who lost their customers and had to close business during, at the height of the pandemic, but they also continued to work to provide for the community. Back in Ghana, Millicent Ajubel's story also spoke to a similar theme, including a seamstress who stopped dressmaking to sew masks for locals. She documented the impact of the pandemic also on small business owners in her project, who didn't stop working at the height of the crisis. And finally, Florence, I know you're here. Your story also spoke to a similar theme. You portrayed a young woman called McAfoy who decided to make her way to marketplaces to provide women traders with masks, which she had sewn herself. And McAfoy didn't only do that, she also organized door-to-door activities on education workshops on preventative measures, which was an incredible act of civism from a young woman. We have more stories to come. It's the reality of working also with so many women in an online world during a pandemic. We have a few more, which we're really excited to share with you soon. There's one by Esther Ofwegbu, who's based in Nigeria. Margarita, do you want to talk a bit more about Esther?
Yeah, absolutely. Esther's idea came from her direct observation of the rural life in Enugu, Nigeria. And she was observing that COVID-19 was having a huge impact on the socio-economic lives of women farmers and families. So she decided to basically interview them and to take pictures of those women. So we are yet to fine-tune this story, but we're really excited to have it in our group. And finally, another story that we just received this morning. So is Ellen. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted everyone's life all over the world. And while a great number of people still struggle with depression and other issues, some others are trying to find opportunity also in this very difficult moment. So Ellen photos tell the stories of 4 women who decided to do something new with their lives and their businesses. So those are the 11 stories we want to show you. We are very excited to bring all of these stories in the coming weeks on our platform, so follow us. We are also pushing them to other organizations who are interested in releasing them with us. And please give a shout if you are one. So if you want to share and help us sharing those stories. And just last few words, me and Lucille, we were talking about the possibility to develop a new photo book project, because those projects really, they should be really out in a book, because they are so beautiful pictures. So thank you very much to all the photographers who participated and put their time.
And thanks very much to everyone on the ground, also including Julian, Dennis, everyone in the Ghana teams, and Lydia in Kenya, everyone really who also helped. And yeah, we look forward to sharing these stories with you all.
Great, thank you so much, Lucille and Margarita. We're running quite short on time, but I just want to run through the last few things we'll do in this event together. I hope you can see my screen now. It says it's loading, but I as a kind of interlude, hearing so many of the wonderful stories from our COVID-19 collection, but also from our students around their journey. I think Jem, who's one of the winners as well of her COVID-19 stories, she's written a poem back in 2013 about what photography means to her. And we think it's just such a beautiful poem for us to be reminded from time to time. All of you here, some of you are our students, some of you are supporters, but I think all of us probably agree with the power of photography. Today we have a few exciting announcements to make. Some of you might have seen already on our social media this year for 2021 International Women's Day. We've partnered with AXA, a global insurance company, to celebrate International Women's Day. So do look out for kind of the social media feed, and the idea is their staff members will use the photographs taken by our students as background image, and their staff members can choose to challenge to make a commitment of what they're interested to do. And we have another exciting announcement that will run through in the next 3-4 minutes with David Hoffman. David has been a volunteer for Lensational for a while, and now he's joined a new role and brought us this very exciting opportunity. David, are you here with us?
I am with you, yes, I can hear you, and I'll very briefly introduce this new and super exciting partnership. Just to start, I've been amazed by all the stories that you've been sharing, and congrats to you all. What we want to do is be able to share more of these stories. So I'm really happy to announce that with the NAP Global Network, which is hosted by the International Institute for Sustainable Development, that we are able to start a new project very soon in Kenya and in Ghana. And I think it's worth very briefly just explaining what we do at the network, because it explains the approach that we're taking for this partnership. So, I'll be very brief. We work with governments, and what our goal is to support them with their climate change adaptation policies and their adaptation planning process. And as we do that, we are in touch with many different stakeholders. And Bonnie, if you just go to the slide, not this one, but one after, actually, because I think it's just for the work we do is essentially allowing us to facilitate this partnership, and so we will be able to support women through the provision of digital photography and storytelling, and curation training as well by local photographers. And it will be 2 6-month trainings that we will combine with capacity development, and in particular on climate change adaptation. So it's giving us a bit of a specific angle to the training program. And what we can bring to the table here is also the connections with the government. And through our work with them, we will be able to present these stories after the training to government officials, so that they get to hear the stories from underrepresented women and their stories of resilience, and how how climate change is affecting them. And at the end of the day, there will be this presentation, which will be a unique opportunity for 7 trainees in each country to share their work and have the potential to influence policymakers' work and decisions. So I think it's really, really exciting to be able to connect these two worlds, and photography is such a powerful tool that enables us to do so, rather than having consultations that are merely conversations. Here we'll have really powerful stories, which will hopefully also have an impact and open the eyes of policymakers. And so the next steps will be to launch, and the training activities in April will be doing our best to capture and share impressions from these trainings, and also the final workshop and presentation, of course, which should be around September or October. So yeah, I had to blitz and rush it a bit, but hopefully the presentation and the slides will also be shared after this event, and you can have a look at what we do in more detail. And if you have any questions, ask now or later. I'm more than happy to talk about this new initiative. Thank you.
Thanks so much, David, to run through all that. We're so excited about this partnership. At Lensational, we always say it's emotional and economic empowerment for the women, but ultimately advocacy. And one thing that we haven't done as much is engaging with policymakers. So with the work we've done on gender and climate, it's so exciting to build on that and to work with such a renowned organization such as yourself. So we're really excited to be able to announce this. The final announcement that I want to make today, before we all thank you for your time today, is that I started Lensational 8 years ago, so the time has now come for me to step down as the CEO. I will still be joining Lensational, of course, as a supporter. I'll be a trustee of our board in the UK, but I want to announce that Lydia, who you've heard from earlier today, who is currently our Global Programs Director, she'll be taking over as CEO. I'm sharing this picture because this picture is Lydia and myself meeting for the first time in 2019 after 4 years of working remotely. We went back to the Mathari with our partner Mathari Foundation and met the girls we've trained back in 2015-16. So that was a very emotional moment, and I'm so excited that Lydia will bring Lensational to the next level. We will be sharing and publishing a Medium blog later today about kind of my reflections and our plans for the future. But thank you all of you. I wanted all of you to hear this firsthand, and I'll pass it to Lydia just to wrap us all up. Lydia?
Hi, thank you so much, Bonnie. I feel extremely grateful and humbled and honored for this opportunity. I did not think in my wildest imaginations that when I reached out in 2015, that I was so young and probably naive and didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't know that 6 years later, I would be in this position. So I want to thank you so much. I want to also just give a couple of special thanks to everybody who has made this journey possible. I want to thank the women that we work with who are represented here today. I think that if you did not give us access to your lives and your communities, we wouldn't be able to achieve any of the work that we're able to do. So I want to first and foremost thank you. I also want to thank you, my colleagues, Margarita, Julianne, Lucille. I may not be able to mention all your names, but all the people that we have been working together with, you've made it easy to work with you. And I'm so grateful for that. And the lessons that you have shared with me, I am entirely grateful for that. I also want to thank you, the women who sit in our Kenya board, Faye, Nina, and Alice, who have played a very critical role in making me, the young leader that I am today. You just holding my hand throughout the journey. I am so grateful for that, and I don't take any of it for granted. I also want to thank you, the amazing partners and corporates that are represented here today, for also the speaking with you on email and through meetings that we have had together, has really elevated and edified me in being able to be in this position. So I also want to thank you. There's so many organizations represented here today: WFP, Gates Foundation, IISD. Please don't get angry if I don't mention your organization. I am just so grateful. I would do if we still had a couple of more minutes, but just know that I am grateful. And last but not least, I want to thank you, Bonnie, so, so much. I'm trying not to get emotional, but I am very grateful for the personal lessons that you have passed down, for trusting me with your baby, because this was your baby. You dreamt it fast, and for believing in me to be able to take over. I don't take it for granted. I'm so, so grateful. And I think I'll wrap it up on that end. And thank you everyone who made it to this call. I hope to be speaking to you more as day goes on. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to a continuous journey with you all. Thanks so much for joining today. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.